Joy includes the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. And it's the actual experience of aliveness and openness when we just let ourselves be available to the whole play of existence. So in Buddhism, when these are taught, these states of heart-mind, often the focus is, if the word is mudita, on sympathetic joy, which is when that openness and aliveness is beholding another person's happiness and just celebrating that. So we'll include that, but also more broadly, the heart-mind when we are in joy. And again, just to say that this is a natural capacity. It's in each of us and our wiring to experience joy, and it can be cultivated. So I'd like to share a quote that has been with me over the years by Gide, which is, "Know that joy is rarer, more difficult, more beautiful than sadness. Once you make this all-important discovery, you must embrace joy as a moral obligation." Okay. So I want to unpack that a little, because those are strong words. Rare. I recently talked to a student who had listened to a number of classic Buddhist talks on mudita and sympathetic joy, and said that in a way they made him depressed, because these joy talks had this state that he was supposed to feel if he was really awake, but he just didn't. He said, "I'm not like a miserable person, but I don't go around with that feeling of celebrating life." And in a way, I thought that was really important to have him say out loud, because so many of us, when we hear talks on happiness or joy, think in some way, well, I could try real hard to be there, but that's just not where I am. And, are we trying to dial ourselves to a different level of experience? And what if I just don't feel it so much? And so I'd be interested in having you take a pause right here at the beginning and checking in. And this is a kind of a close your eyes and reflect for a moment. And just to ask yourself, what is my own experience of joy? Do I experience it much? And I'll use the word happiness interchangeably, the kind of happiness that's very embodied and energetic and alive. Do you experience that much? In the last few days, were there moments of real happiness? We sometimes call it happy for no reason, or it's not hitched to the weather being glorious, but just happy, open, alive. Today, what was it like? And you might notice for some that there were times of happiness, but it felt a little hitched to things being good. Others, maybe there were moments, but it was kind of short-lived. Feel free to open your eyes when you'd like. To different degrees, we get passing states of feeling that openness and aliveness of joy, and some not. Some have a lot of depression, and that happens too. But it's not so common that we have the trait of joy. We might have passing states, but it's not so common that it's kind of an enduring, accessible part of our being. More the time, there's a sense of a stressed person trying to get somewhere else, trying to get through the day. Can you relate to that? At least I noticed that. So I read you another favorite, and this is a poem by the poet Hafez. what is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with the divine, and that the beloved has made such a fantastic move that the saint now is continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. 1,000 serious moves. So there's something in us that kind of knows that we get grim and we are kind of leaning forward, looking at what is going to go wrong or what's challenging. It's that thing of life being a problem to solve, rather than a mystery to be lived, that kind of a mindset. And so we get back to Andre Gide with the word obligation. How could joy be an obligation? And my understanding of the word obligation is in the same way that we feel a commitment to really manifesting our full potential. That just as it's part of our full potential to really open to the suffering of the world and feel that kind of tenderness so that we can respond and be part of our world, it's also part of our commitment to wholeness to open in a way that allows us to feel our love for life. Well, Mary Oliver puts it this way. She says, my work is loving the world. My work is loving the world. I'll read a little bit more. She says, am I no longer young and still not half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished, which is mostly rejoicing since all ingredients are here. Some years back, one friend in our community here shared a conversation she and another woman had had. They were in a cancer support group together. Both had gone through pretty serious, they were survivors, but very scary season of life. And her friend had asked her, what would it be like for you to think that something good was going to happen, rather than something bad was going to happen? Like something good's going to happen tonight or tomorrow. What would it be like to think that? And my friend said, totally weird, because it just wasn't her habit. And then her friend said, good, now try it. So take a moment and let's try it together, okay? So they were pausing together and sensing, okay, today or tonight or tomorrow, these next days, there's something very enriching or enlivening that's possible, that can happen. What happens when you adopt that? Nothing good's going to happen. Feel your body, feel your heart. Maybe there's resistance, maybe there's excitement. The intention here is not to create expectation, which is always binding, but rather to create openness to the infinite possibility that really is a part of reality, to be available. Now the reason, and you can open your eyes if you'd like, the reason I'm bringing this up is because in happiness research, and there's a ton of it now, as many of you know, one of the common denominators of those that are deemed happy is a sense of choosing happiness. It's kind of this willingness. It's like, yeah, this is part of who I can be or am. Let this be there too. Henri Nouwen, who's a Catholic mystic and writer that I love, he goes further. He says, joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. The inquiry I'd like to invite you into is the question of really what is between me and feeling more joy in my life. And it's a question I'm hoping that you'll engage in with real curiosity, not judgment, as we sense, well, what blocks it? I mean, if joy is this feeling of openness and aliveness, it's embodying happiness. It's not mental. What gets in the way?